Hey, this is Scott Spears, and I'd like to welcome you to a very special edition of The Exchange this week, joined each and every week by Matt Morgan, and so glad to be joined by the 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow. And this week, my goodness gracious, the number one documentary in the country, maybe in the world at this particular point, Surviving Ohio State. The film explores the Ohio State University abuse scandal. It's based on the 2020 Sports Illustrated article, Why Aren't More People Talking About the Ohio State Sex Abuse Scandal? It premiered on June 17th on HBO, became the number one, not documentary, people have said that, the number one film item, period, on HBO Max since its debut 8 days ago. We're taping this on Wednesday night, and so glad to be joined by one of the participant stars in a big way of that documentary, former referee Fred Feeney. Fred, we're so glad you could come up to Marion today for this. We've taped an episode. You're going to be on the radio with me live tomorrow morning, and I appreciate it because your story certainly is one that has been told, and we love hearing more about it.
Great. Glad to be here.
Fred, for all of us, we just did an episode, but in the documentary, Mary Ellen, obviously being involved in politics here in Ohio for many, many years, your part in the documentary is probably the most damning toward Congressman Jim Jordan. You in the documentary essentially say he knew, he definitely knew, I don't think he knew because I talked to him.
Right.
If you could tell that story again for Mary Ellen and Matt, maybe the audience who's just catching this episode.
Yep. More than happy to. So after do you want the whole thing?
Yeah, go right ahead. Just tell it all.
All right. So I was doing a Big Ten match at Ohio State, and I don't know who it was, Iowa or somebody. Somebody won, somebody lost, and so it's over. I signed the book, and you get out. So I go down the hallway to our locker room, which is a huge locker room. It's a team locker room, but I'm the only official one there, and or I'm the only person in there. And I start to get undressed, and then what? Dr. Strauss. And I knew him, and hey, Doc, how are you? And hey, Fred, how are you? And he started getting undressed right beside me. And he could have picked any locker, any of the 50, 75, and whatever they were, but he's right beside me. All right, so Doc, what are you doing? He says, well, it's somewhere I got to be, and I want to take a quick shower. All right. Well, as I said earlier, I've been in locker rooms before, and people get undressed, and that's what you do, and you go wrap a towel, and you go take a shower. So I walk in the shower room, and it's a rectangle, and I don't know, maybe there are 25 shower heads in there, and I go right in here, and he comes in right beside me. Doc, what are you doing? He goes, I'm just going to take a shower. Okay, so I kind of turn, and I'm, facing the shower head, and I'm washing my hair and my body and that, and I notice that he's doing more than just showering. He's masturbating, and he suds, and he's just masturbating, and then he kind of comes up behind me, if you get my drift, and then I just like, what the hell are you doing? And he goes, oh, there's nothing wrong. He goes, you got a good body, and I go, I'm done here. And I left with probably soap on me, walk out to where my locker was, start getting undressed. And he comes out, and he's got a towel around him, and a very obvious erection. And, of course, he's standing right beside me. And he goes, Fred, I don't know what you're so embarrassed about. He goes, you got a beautiful body, you got a nice butt and penis. And he goes, there's nothing wrong here. I go, doctor, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I got dressed and I left. And we've talked earlier, and I've talked about this before. I didn't sit down and go, what should I do about this? Should I beat his ass right now? Should I kick him in the nuts? What should I do? And I just got the hell out of there. And got dressed and walked down the hallway, and Hellickson and Jordan are standing at the end, as they always did after a match, because their team locker room was right down from it, and waiting on the boys to come out. And I go down to Hellickson and Jordan, and I said, hey, Strauss is in there masturbating beside me in the shower. And they both looked at me, and they both said, it's what Strauss does. You know that.
Yeah.
And I just realized that nothing's going to happen here, and I left. And it wasn't until years later, and even when filming in Hollywood with Eva for HBO, did I really look at, was I under another obligation to do something higher than this? And guys had said, well, you could have gone to police. I went to the damn head coach. I went to assistant coach. They knew. They were aware. So anyway, that was that was that.
Now, and at this point, you're in your 40s. You're a referee. You're not a student at Ohio State. You know, Mary Ellen, because this has been talked about with Jim Jordan since 2018.
Yeah.
Did he know? Did he not know? He denies it to this day. Fred is saying, I walked out in the hallway, he's there, and I told him. And he acknowledged that I knew. What do you make of that?
Well, that's what we've thought all along. He knew, So that's proof.
Why do you think? You're not a fan of Jim Jordan, obviously.
No.
But why do you think? I mean, you've had a successful political career. You've weathered some storms in your life. Why do you think he is so against this, denies it? What's your best guess?
Well, he doesn't want to be a part of it, of course. I mean, he's trying to make everybody believe he didn't know it, and I think everybody thinks he did,
Well, that becomes the problem.
Yeah.
I think the more you deny it, and the more that comes out, it doesn't help you at all.
Yeah.
What do you think the end game is with him? Do you think there's ever a chance that he would be voted out of office? Do you ever think there's a chance he's going to suffer any consequence?
I don't know, because he's got a strong following, and I don't know. He's a strange individual, 20 years of this, and he gets away with it, not talking about it. I don't know.
Mary Ellen, what do you make of this documentary as a whole?
Well, I think it was a good thing that they did it,
It's a very telling documentary.
Yeah.
Very telling.
Yeah.
Matt, you're 21 years old, young guy, obviously. What do you make of a story like that? You're interested in politics, you're interested in a lot of stuff. Sports, you're interested in sports?
It's rather unsettling, I would think. I mean, I figure I think that Jim Jordan, unless like some physical evidence comes out, I think people will probably just keep, rationalizing it to themselves as like he said, she said kind of thing, even though I don't know that this is that kind of thing.
Fred, do you think there's any concrete advice anywhere that would ever come out against Jim Jordan?
Well, when Mary Ellen was talking, I was thinking about gerrymandering. And when you look at Jordan, I mean, I live in Delaware. He's my congressman.
Mine
seriously.
too.
And the way the gerrymandering is done, it's done to help that person. I get that. But there's no. And here's what I think is beautiful. He professes to be a Christian. And, well, if that's truly true, how do you not do the right thing here? Because be it sodomy or being this or being that, those are sins, I would think, under, the way he would look at it. But lying, politicians lie. I mean, look at Trump. So, yeah, I just don't see this. I think they just want to go away. And he's never going to step up and, you know what, I lied and I want to tell the truth now. Could you imagine that?
No, I don't think he would ever do that.
No, I don't either.
In the world, though, of emails and voicemails and phone calls and all this sort of thing, do you think there could be something somewhere?
There's something out there.
Yeah.
I think somewhere, somehow, something's going to happen. And as we talked about off air a little bit, that I'm not going to bring up now, but there's other stuff out there, and I think there's pictures somewhere somehow, and if they ever get out, the dam's gonna open up, and this is going to be a hell of a lot bigger than it is now.
Fred, and I think the exclamation point on this is, and we don't get to hear about this in the documentary, there's only so much time, but you went to meet with Congressman Jordan.
I did.
After this whole thing.
So I did that because Jim and I were friends.
He had denied it.
Yes, well, he and I were friends. This was after all this happened. And I was at a party one night, and this guy came up to me and goes, "Hey, I hear that you know some people in Washington. You might be able to help me get some stuff done." And he actually made a Bradley tank, if you know what a Bradley tank is. They shoot a big shell out, huge shell, costs $5,000. Well, what this company did, they figured out a way to be able to shoot a 50 caliber bullet out, machine gun, 50 cal, instead of a big shell. So it saved a lot of money. And they sold that, it was called aim test, and they sold that all over the world. But depending on the country you were dealing with, it'd be a tier 2 or tier 3 country, you had to go through the US government to sell it. They would buy it and then sell it to like Oman. Oman was the country that bought it. And so the company that sold it, they had to wait for this money to come. And they were, I think it was 8 million, 10 million, whatever that number was, that was owed. And it had been a long time. And he said, "Can you help me with that?" "Well, I don't know. Let me give Jim a call and see what I can do." Called Jim. He goes, "Hey, let me come down and take a tour and see what I can do." He came down a few days later, took a tour of the plant, and made a couple phone calls, and bam, money was done.
Really?
And because that's what he did.
Yeah.
He was part of the Foreign Relations Committee at the time, I think.
Yeah.
And I realized you can open some doors for me here. And so I met with the staff of the Foreign Relations Committee, which was really a trip, because you met in this soundproof room, and whatever was talked about stayed there. You know? And you talked Republican and Democrat. But it was a way that I made money because of it, and it was a great thing. So when I found out that Jordan, when all this came out, and Jordan denied he knew anything about it, he goes, "And I don't think this happened," it kind of pissed me off.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew we talked about it.
Yeah.
And I hopped on a plane, went to D.C., walked into his office, as I did when I was doing business with him. And I walked right in, and he came out, and he goes, I said, "Jim, what are you doing? You know we've talked about this." He goes, "Fred, we're not talking about this. And you're not welcome in this office anymore."
Oh, really?
And
Yeah.
I think I gave him the bird, or at least was vocal
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And walked out, and that was the end of that relationship.
Is that right?
So,
yeah.
and it didn't hurt me. I got done when I needed to get done other ways, but yeah, he wasn't going to talk about it. And that's when I got outed. I was I ended up being a John Doe. I was John Doe 16, I think, in the lawsuit. But somebody, not the Marion Star, but Cleveland Dealer or Fox or somebody said, "Well, John Doe 16 is Fred Feeney." And okay. So,
How long ago was that?
well, that's when the story first broke
Oh, okay.
about Jordan. And that.
Yeah.
The 2018-ish,
Yeah.
somewhere in that
Yeah.
neighborhood.
And then I got bombarded by Fox News and all the right-wing trash crap
really?
that was out there.
Yeah.
Beat my butt on this, and it was just, are you going to tell the truth about Jordan? No, here we go.
yeah,
And just over
right.
and over. And then my attorneys finally said, "Stop talking.
Yeah.
Don't talk to
Yeah.
anybody." So, yeah, that was, but Jim, yeah, I bet until the day he dies, it'd be great if he just told the damn truth, but.
Mary Ellen, when we look at this whole thing, that this went on for 20 years at Ohio State. I mean, you're an Ohio State fan. I graduated from Ohio State. I mean, a lot of people, Ohio State fans, clearly in this state. How do you coalesce that this school that so many people love, with all these great personalities over the years, that this went on for 20 years?
Yeah, they just put it aside and hoped nobody'd find out about it, and that wasn't the case. And now they won't admit it. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the questions, Mary Ellen, because, you, again, being in politics for as long as you've had to deal with some public relations things.
Yeah.
It's certainly well known, and Ohio State has some money. Obviously, they do very well. Why do they not stop this? They wouldn't have the documentaries. They wouldn't have the newspaper articles. They wouldn't have this continually going on if they would just apologize and say, you know, they've apologized in a way, but say, listen, we weren't here then. We need to make this right. Penn State did that with Joe Paterno a few years ago.
Yeah, and it quit.
And it kind of, we understand what happened, and it was awful, and they moved on.
Yeah.
Could I ask a
Yeah,
question?
go ahead.
So, you being the treasurer of the state of Ohio, is it not true that the governor could come to you and say, write him a check?
No.
No. They'd have to come through the...
No, the Secretary of the Treasury could do that.
Okay.
Now,
But the governor could do that, could say, I want this done.
I think so, yes. That the treasurer used to write checks during the Second World War, and then it changed. The next treasurer didn't write checks anymore, and that policy was changed.
But he could go knock on somebody's office door and go, I want this fixed.
Yeah, the Secretary of the Treasury controls the money. Yeah.
Well, that being said, Mary Ellen, here we got Governor DeWine in office during this the scandal part of it. He wasn't in office as governor when it went on in 78 from 78 to 98. Why do you think he lets it go on? It's certainly not good press for the state.
Well, he doesn't want to get involved. I mean, look at the stuff he's let go.
He's had his own little scandals, that's for sure.
I mean, he's had his own problems.
He's had his own things go along.
Now he's congratulating the seniors that are graduating. He's doing that right now.
He's getting out doing that. You know, Matt, you think about this. Why would Ohio State want this to continue on? Why wouldn't they just deal with it like Penn State did? When Joe Paterno's statue came down, he was fired. Sandusky sits in jail today. They didn't seem to have trouble dealing with legends and mythical figures at their university.
I don't know. Maybe they just think that eventually it'll like get swept under the rug, and that it won't be talked about anymore. If they just kind of stay quiet about it long enough, people will stop talking about it. That's my best guess. Also, Ohio State has a lot of money. They probably have some kind of something like a campaign.
They've got money.
They could do something.
You know, they do have money, but when you looked at the first guys that did settle, did you ever read what they had to sign?
Oh yeah,
Really?
You
Oh,
can't
my
talk. Yeah.
God, you can't talk about it. You
it.
can't do this.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Oh,
Then they
yeah.
invited him to come speak, which was stupid because they weren't allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything they said over here, we're going to do over here. It was being blocked. So they had the mouthpiece over here for the and then over here they're really sticking it to you. So.
You know, it's the most peculiar story in the end, because I don't know of any scandal to this level. I mean, what is 177 people have admitted, but over 2,000 they think have been affected by this, sexually assaulted or raped, who've went through that university in 20 years, and yet Ohio State just refuses to deal with it. It's the oddest thing.
I think, as we've talked before, I think there's higher powers and not the one in heaven. But there are higher powers that have the money, the purse, and Ohio State sends a lot of money to the state treasury. Probably the most of any schools in Ohio.
Probably. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of big names that don't want. I don't understand. How could it hurt them today if they just go, settle this, we're sorry, and we move on?
You know, a lot of my employees went to work for Ohio State when I left, and in very important positions.
Mary Ellen, when you were in office, you were treasurer of the state of Ohio before you were treasurer of the United States. That's during the 1980s, early 1990s. I mean, this was going on in the state. There was no talk of this.
No.
You didn't hear it. I mean, my goodness, if this would have came out during that time, what do you think would have happened?
The first time I heard about Jim Jordan was how mad my daughter was at her because he got up and she tried to talk to him about the radiology. That's what she did. And he wouldn't talk to her. And that's the first instigation with Jim Jordan that I had.
Why wouldn't he talk to her about radiology?
I don't know. He was just very rude. She was asking if they could do something, and he didn't try to talk to her or anything. He just ignored her is what he did. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. That.
Yeah.
What kind of guy is he?
Well, you know him. You probably can say what kind of a guy he is.
Can I say prick?
Is that how he is? That's who he is. So that's the personality. That's the man.
I mean, that's the persona that he. I mean, again, he was a great wrestler. So there's a lot of those wrestling guys that have that persona. You know, I'm this guy. I'm a tough guy. Yada yada yada. And I think he's a guy that realizes that talk softly and carry a big stick, and he's got a lot of power today, and
He does.
He wields that power.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Well, I mean, whether you like him or dislike him, you have to say he certainly has become a successful politician after this wrestling career. What has made him so successful? I mean, the district is gerrymandered, so I mean, there's that works in his favor. But he has to do something that people like. People know who he is.
Well, if you're pleasing the people that voted for you, you're going to get reelected. The rest of the people don't. It doesn't matter.
That's true.
And that's the effect of gerrymandering. That as long as you have that right people, and if things change, you change the districts, you're going to be back in there again.
You know what's interesting to me? I was recently talking to another politician, and people can figure out who it is, but they're running for office in the upcoming year, and I think more than our sitting governor, DeWine, the endorsement they want the most is still Jim Jordan. Even after all this scandal, even after the associations he's had in Washington, which haven't been so great, even after being rejected as Speaker of the House, even being as quiet as he is, we don't hear or see him much anymore. This is the face you want to put on your website. This is the guy you want a picture taken with if you're a Republican.
I turned on the news the other night, and here was a guy talking about Iran-Contra. And you go back, you remember all that? Who that guy was? And that was doing all that behind the scenes. Today, he's a normal guy. They're talking about, it's like nothing ever happened. And hell, I think he almost went to jail, or maybe he did go to jail for all that stuff. But time heals all wounds.
It does. Yeah. Yeah, people forget.
And the MAGA people out there, the Jordan people, which I'm sure are all MAGA people, they're loyal to a fault. And as long as you're out there spewing the stuff that they want to hear, you're going to get reelected.
The big question here that a lot of people have asked, if in the beginning, I mean, now I think the boat has sailed because he's denied it for 7 years, but if in the beginning, sitting congressman from Ohio would have came out, the story broke, and he would have said, you know what, yes, I knew, but clearly so did a lot of other people. And I did the wrong thing. I should have handled this better. Could he have survived?
Oh, I think so. I think in the end, I mean, look at marriages, right? People have been unfaithful to spouses, and they apologize, and they stay together, and that happened. They become human. I think that same thing could have happened with Jordan. But it goes back to Hellickson again.
Now, when you were friends with him, did you feel like he was a nice guy?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. I didn't like his politics per se.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter to me.
You were talking to him about other things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he was very personable to me. But when it was time to be done talking, he was done talking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he would just move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And that's that power of that office. I think.
You know, the day in that hallway when the abuse happened to you and you're leaving and there they are, Hellickson, the head coach, and Jordan, the assistant coach, and you're telling them what happened, and their answer is, that's Strauss. How'd you feel as you got in the car that night?
I was kind of shocked
I'll bet. Yeah.
that this happened. And then I thought, honestly, my first thought, did I do something to entice him?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. Because I sure didn't ever say anything to him, you know, that, gee, you're a handsome fellow.
Yeah, there was none of that.
There was none of
No.
that. So,
Yeah.
and again, at 40, I mean, you know, I was in good shape and my black long hair and yada, yada, yada. It was just something that, and again, I'm told there are one or two other officials that may be part of this that are John Doe's. I don't know. So maybe he loved showers. You know, he'd take, and I was told this, I don't know, I never stood there and counted them, but, you know, it's 5, 6, 7 showers a day with different teams.
Really.
And even Hellickson talked about that. In the, you know, it was filmed, and he goes, Doc, you know, you're touching them too much. If you knew that, what else do you know? And how did he know he was touching them too much? Because he was told that. So, you know, Russ, I think he's hurt himself by, and he probably forgot he said that too. So.
Well, you know, you got Russ Hellickson, you got Jim Jordan. Obviously, they're very successful wrestling coaches at the time. They have that career. Is that all forgotten now? I mean, really, Jim Jordan will be known as a politician. He did have that life, and he's got that life right now. But really, when he's out of office, and that will happen one day, does this go away? I mean,
I think it will.
Do you think this will go away? The accusation, people will forget.
20 years from now? You know.
I'm not going to forget it.
Yeah.
Ever.
Right.
Well, see, I don't know if people will forget it, because people remember scandals. They remember.
They do.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
remember scandals.
Yeah.
They do, but unlike Penn State or Michigan State, we didn't get the press way back. You know, it's just been, had it not been for Eva Horner doing this documentary, would we be talking about this?
Well, yeah, but and here's the point, though. Jim Jordan, I don't know, how old is Jim? 50? Somewhere in that neighborhood?
in there.
Okay, so Jim Jordan's that age. I'm sure he's got higher aspirations than being a congressman. This is a very
Let's hope
competitive.
not.
Well, I think he probably did.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. I think he might have liked to have been governor of Ohio. I think he might have liked to have been a senator. I think he certainly wanted to be Speaker of the House. That's recent times, last year.
That's right.
Yeah. So he's got higher ambitions, but even now, even if he thought he could win, would he run? Because this is going to
hanging
hit
out
him
there,
now. I think essentially, Mary Ellen, has this ruined any aspirations he might have beyond you know politics very well.
Well, I don't think it's ruined anything.
You think he could run for governor and still win?
I don't know. I was so surprised about what happened with New York City.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, for people who are just tuning in, that's another story.
Yeah, I shouldn't bring it up.
No,
but
no.
That's what I was.
No,
surprised
we'll talk a little bit about it, because honestly, a lot of this is flying around here. We got 1 minute before the break, and we're coming back. We've got another half hour before we're going to wrap this up. But last night in New York City, the mayoral race, you had the former governor Cuomo name, Andrew Cuomo. People thought he was a shoo-in in the Democratic primary. Well, guess what?
I thought he was.
Not the case.
No.
He was defeated by a rap singer who is a very, very, very liberally minded, way to the right Democrat who There you go. That's what happened.
Free buses, free this, free that.
Free bit. Lower your taxes. We'll come back and talk about more with Fred Feeney, Matt Morgan, Mary Ellen Withrow right after this. Hey, Scott Spears here with Colleen Marshall, NBC4. Catch her every night. And in the new documentary, Surviving Ohio State. We just had a great conversation. You can catch it on WWGH1071.com or download the TuneIn app on any mobile device by searching WGH Talk. It's absolutely free. Colleen, so great to talk with you. In 30 seconds, what do you think of the documentary?
I think that the documentary maker, Eva Orner, did a remarkable, masterful job of taking a very difficult subject, of finding and getting honest answers from people who have been through hell and back. And it's not an uplifting story, but I think it's a significant story, and we should all pay attention to it.
NBC4's Colleen Marshall, the absolute best. Hey, Scott Spears back with you here. Matt Morgan, 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow, and former referee Fred Feeney, who is in the hit documentary. If you haven't seen it, you should. Surviving Ohio State. It's on HBO Max right now, and I believe still the number one item on HBO Max film documentary. It's certainly the number one documentary in the country. We were talking about what happened in New York. We're taping this on Wednesday night, last night. It was the New York mayoral primary. Everybody thought Andrew Cuomo was a shoo-in. He's the former governor. He's the son of Mario Cuomo, the brother of Chris Cuomo, who's still in the news. And here comes this guy who used to be a rapper. He's as liberal as could be. Wins the primary and wins it early. They called it early.
I do believe he's a self-proclaimed socialist.
That's right. I think he does call himself a socialist.
I think that's right.
Cuomo gave it up.
Yeah, Cuomo said it's his
did.
night.
Yep.
Give Cuomo a lot of credit for that, because he had to be feeling pretty bad last night. And he said, this is his night. Let him celebrate. What happened, Mary Ellen?
I don't know.
What happened?
You have to live in New York to
You
know.
have to. But now see, and this is a tie-in here, because we were talking, could Jim Jordan become governor? Well, you know what? Baggage does follow you.
Don't talk about
Don't even bring
that.
that up. Don't want to say that. But no, but does baggage follow you?
Yes.
Cuomo had some baggage.
Yeah, baggage follows you, that's for sure.
It does follow, but what happens when the ice cream guy gives out free popsicles to all the neighborhood kids?
Okay.
He's the best guy in the world. So what's Trump do? Trump does the same damn thing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to, everything. The day that I get elected is the day I take office. All this crap's going to happen magically. It didn't.
No.
And no one gives a damn. How is it they don't give a damn?
Oh, I think they do. I think they're getting together in groups.
We are seeing
Yeah,
but
and there are a lot of protests.
There are
Yes.
protests.
But what did this guy do? Free busing. Free this, free that.
But is that the thing now? Because it used to be said that that you can't do that. You can be to the center as a Democrat, but you can't run way over there. You can't be Bernie Sanders. You can't be that. You can't be AOC. You can't do that. Well, I don't know. Maybe you can. Is this the future of the Democratic Party, Mary Ellen? We've been asking this question since Trump got in. Is this where it is?
Well, I think the public is very anxious to have Democrats in office now.
Well, it's very interesting to me that last night Trump went on a Twitter rant on AOC of all people. You think he'd have other things to do, but he called her not qualified. Said she needed to take the mental acuity test that he took, and called her dumb. It was a whole big thing.
He was on. He spoke from NATO on Channel 1, and he wasn't carried on anything else that I saw.
He's not getting a lot of coverage lately.
No, but I watched that, and he was saying some nasty things, I'll tell you.
Well, he threw the F-bomb out there, too.
Yes.
Yeah, oh.
Yes.
Who does that?
Yeah.
I thought that was totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
Well, and here's, is he going, there has to be a rhyme or reason. Why did he just wake up and say, I'm going to write a big long paragraph on AOC? That has to be tied into that gubernatorial race. He must feel that she's a threat, I would guess.
I don't think he has the mental acuity to write that stuff anyway.
Oh, you think somebody else is doing that for him?
Yeah, I think he's got little,
Good
minions doing all his crap. And then he looks at it and says, yep, and goes for it.
Well, that little gal that does the reporting could be one of those.
Oh, the press secretary?
Yeah.
Oh, she's
yeah,
a trip. isn't she?
She's a piece of work too.
She's got her own little agenda going on there. Matt, what did you make of what's going on in New York? Everybody thought Cuomo was a done deal.
I saw a couple of the clips about from the debates on the on like YouTube. I assume either YouTube or Instagram, and Cuomo did of the debates. There were like 4 or 5 people, and of them, the 2 who did substantially better than the others were Cuomo and I can't think of this guy's name, but
Ends with a B, I think.
But he had some rather good responses on things, so it doesn't necessarily. I had heard. I mean, I know he referred to himself as a socialist, which I thought was rather interesting. I didn't think he would win.
But
for
this
the
isn't
sheer fact that he called himself a socialist.
Well, see, I don't think it matters. Apparently, it doesn't matter anymore. But I mean, Andrew Cuomo is not some Johnny-come-lately in New York. I mean, this is your former governor coming down to run for mayor.
Yeah.
How do you lose on that?
Why did he come
Stage.
down to mayor? Is there a
Well, he had a
reason for that?
scandal. He had to resign.
Oh,
That's what
well.
I'm saying. He's got baggage. I think baggage does follow you. I think it followed Cuomo.
I think it does. I think it does too, and I think he saw this as a way to reset and possibly get back into something later
That
on
could be.
if he was successful as the mayor. And then I noticed where Giuliani got appointed to something Trump appointed him, and some felon, another felon he appointed. Like, oh my God.
Well, I think this reminds me a lot of Richard Nixon, because Richard Nixon lost the presidency against JFK in 1960. He goes back and runs for governor of California. He loses. And his famous line, "You won't have Richard Nixon to kick around anymore."
Yeah.
He's done. But he couldn't get it out. He couldn't get it out of his system, and it's by 1968 he's president of the United States. So, there was a guy, but then it didn't end so well for him. Most disgraced president currently in the history of office. We'll see how the current one turns out. But, that's a weird career to have. And I've seen these second acts. Cuomo, this obviously was a second act, didn't work for him. Some people don't have second acts, Mary Ellen.
That's true.
And Cuomo, do you think Cuomo can get back in any way at this point?
I really don't think so. I mean, not after this.
Hillary took 2 stabs at it, and then pretty well now she's said she's done with politics. I mean, she'll campaign for people, but she's not. And she was First Lady when you were Treasurer of the United States.
Yes.
I don't think she would take another run at anything.
Well, she didn't run after she lost for president. I mean, she didn't try to do anything else.
The primary, where she lost against Obama. And then she came back and ran for president in 2016.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that was it for her.
Yeah.
I think comebacks are hard, and I think scandals are hard to overcome. I guess it depends on what the scandal is. I don't know. Some are harder than others. Do you think, Fred? Do you think Cuomo's career is done?
I think he is done. I mean, he's probably embarrassed more than anything else, and he'll probably go run and hide, and we'll probably never hear from him again. But when you look at, what's her name that ran for president here against Trump?
Harris.
So you'll never see her again politically. That was a stunning defeat to her. Honestly, I don't think she was the right person anyway that they should have put out there.
Who did you think should have been?
Well, I was hoping the governor of Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
Shapiro,
Oh, I like
or
him.
California, Newsom.
Yeah, but I like Shapiro a lot.
Yeah. And I don't know what he didn't have to get that behind him to, get that up there. But and then you look at Joe Biden now and some of the stuff that's coming out. Did we really know Joe Biden? The way people thought we knew him. I don't know. It's just. But who cares? He's an old man, and it's just. I don't think anyone cares anymore.
No, I think everybody's tied up with what's going on now in the world. Obviously, well, we got to touch on it in this episode because since we've gotten together last, Iran and Israel, that's become a thing, far worse thing than it was last week. We, the United States, attacked Iran. We went after their bases on Saturday night, and then Iran retaliated. They went after Qatar, our base in Qatar and Iraq. And then all of a sudden that night, there's a peace treaty between Israel and Iran.
I gotta believe a phone call was made and said, look, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna play checkers. I'm gonna do this. Because when Iran did the missiles, there's nobody on those bases.
Right.
Everyone knew there was nobody there.
Mm-hmm.
So who were they trying to hurt? I think deals were made. You do this, we're gonna do this. Here's what we're gonna do, and we'll go from there. That's what I think happened. Trump wants to be the damn Pulitzer Prize. Yeah,
Nobel Peace Prize. Nobel Peace Prize.
He wants that so damn bad.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't think no way in hell are they ever going to give that to him, even if he invented the fix for cancer right now.
Well, Mary Ellen, this whole thing's been very strange because they're not even trying to change the regime in Iran. So what is the point? I mean, they're going to stay who they are. And as soon as this ceasefire was signed, all of a sudden here comes these missiles, and then Trump's angry because they're firing off missiles after he announces there's going to be a ceasefire. They both kind of got into it again. I think that was probably Israel's fault more than Iran's, because Iran's in bad shape right now. But is there a ceasefire? I don't know. They're certainly still firing as of yesterday.
Are they still firing?
Not today. I haven't heard
Well, that's
anything,
what I thought.
but in recent days they certainly have been.
Well, I'll tell you, I was impressed with our military. I'm always amazed at how they do this stuff that they do. I couldn't get over how they worked that out. I sure give them credit.
It's very interesting because a lot of people were very upset because they felt that this was us putting our absolute hand on the scale for Israel and that we are definitely pro-Israel and not Muslim, Arab. People have suspected that obviously about us for years, but that's what a lot of people felt this was. And there are sleeper cells, Iranian sleeper cells all over this country that were not activated, thank God, and hopefully won't be activated. But it's not as if Iran is absolutely disabled, Mary Ellen. They've got that route.
No.
They have got they've got the oil that they could really put us in a bad way with.
Straight Hormuz.
Yeah.
Hormuz. I think this is choreographed. And I'm not a conspiracy guy whatsoever. But I really think the way this came out, Trump was so angry that everybody said, even his intelligence said, well, I don't think we did much damage. He was so angry over that because he wanted to be the great savior.
Yeah, right.
And then they started beating everybody's butt. Well, you hate the military. No, we don't hate the military. They did a great job.
They did.
But that bomb had never been tested before.
I know, that's what was amazing,
They
too.
never dug down.
It was so big.
Yeah.
I know.
And there was, 12 of them?
It was unbelievable. So,
Yeah.
so now they know, and I think Iran knew this was going to happen. They knew. They cleared people out.
Yeah.
Nobody died.
Yeah.
So it was just a big show, and I think Trump did that to look at me. It was just a big chest thing.
How do you think they knew?
Because I think they told him this is what's going to happen.
You think Trump told him?
Yeah, somebody did.
And then he said he's going to wait 2 weeks. Yeah.
I'm going to wait 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that was the signal.
Yeah. And Taco.
Yeah. Taco,
right.
we've heard that.
Right.
He doesn't like that one.
He doesn't like it.
No.
But I think that was, we're going to wait 2 weeks. We're going to wait 2 weeks. It was, everyone knew it wasn't going to be 2 weeks. And then the next day it happened.
Yeah.
So,
But I guess the
Yeah.
question in the end, can you trust Iran? Can you trust Israel at this point?
This is what I don't understand. Him working this all by himself. You don't do things like that. as President of the United States.
You do not. And
No.
when you got people like Miller and the whole Project
Yeah.
25 crap
Yeah.
that's out there,
Except-
you got puppeteers working behind the scenes
Yeah.
that are doing this.
And they don't know what they're doing.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think they do know what they're doing.
The puppeteers?
Yeah, I think they know exactly what they're doing
Why,
They
why
don't
do you
want
think
us-
they know
they-
what they're doing?
because look at whole Project 2025, right?
Yeah.
Trump denied that entire thing.
I know. He said he didn't know anything about it. Yeah.
So he didn't write that, but he knew the people that did write it.
Yeah.
That's why I thought they know exactly. There's a game plan out there, and this is exactly where they want to take America.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all the stuff they're taking away from the kids, from Medicare, from the gays. They're beating the hell out of this country.
Mm-hmm.
And now he wants to go after the press. You know, my wife is scared to death that someone's going to come knock on my door and shoot me because I hate Trump so much. He's already said that. You better watch yourself. You know, there could be penalties for you not liking the government.
He said that to
He
you?
did, no, not to
Oh.
me, but he has said that.
I know. You got to be careful what you say. But
Well, and that's not supposed to be how it is in the
No.
United States
No,
of
free
America.
press.
no, that's
Gee.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But Matt, you've been paying attention to this a lot. What is okay? Well, he wants the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, let's say that. But
He does,
what is the point of this whole thing? I mean, are these countries that have been adversaries for decades now? Are they really all of a sudden just going to start getting along? I mean, what did Trump give to any of them to make them feel that they were in good shape at this point?
I don't know.
I mean, what's the peace deal? I haven't seen anything written down yet.
I don't think anybody knows what the peace deal is. I mean, allegedly, there's just a ceasefire. Well, I mean, not allegedly. I guess they have stopped firing, as far as I know. But there's, supposed to be a ceasefire. So there's that.
I mean, the Ayatollah, I believe I heard, is the oldest living leader in the free world right now. The man's
Yeah.
late 80s. I think he's 87. I mean, what's he got to lose? Why does he need to start being friendly with anybody? And can you trust these people? Trump thought he could trust Putin. That didn't go over very well.
And he said some bad things about Russia today in that interview I heard. I was surprised at that.
And he certainly hasn't made peace there.
No.
But let's go back a little bit. What happened 2-3 weeks ago? Where did he go? What did he get?
But he didn't go to Israel.
No, he didn't go to Israel.
And everybody thought he would.
Right. But who doesn't like Israel?
Well, Iran.
But Saudi,
Oh, absolutely.
they're not friends.
The
with
Middle
them.
East, yeah.
So he went to Saudi. He didn't mess with Israel. He wanted that plane. We haven't heard any more about that plane, have we?
No, that's been away for a while. I don't know if that went down to his museum or wherever that ended up.
He's not using it, is he?
No, it's going to be checked out and sent to a museum, I heard.
Oh, really?
So-
To
But-
his museum.
So I think there's a timetable, probably up on the White House walls. And oh my God, what has he done to the White House? To the Oval Office?
Oh, isn't that awful?
Oh my! It looks like a
so-
whorehouse.
It does. And all that gold and all those pictures everywhere. No classy look to it at all
No,
anymore.
not presidential whatsoever.
No.
King-like.
I don't know
like-
about that.
Well, I keep trying to figure out what is the goal here. If it's to be like you're a peacemaker, that certainly was not the best way to go around it. If he's got that kind of choreographing power with Israel and Iran, I would have thought there would have been a better way to handle that.
Yeah, he's a bully. That's what he does. You know, bravado. That's
Well, what would happen if a sleeper cell, again, God forbid, went off in this country? I mean, I don't think it would take much for Iran to do that at this point.
Well, I thought maybe that's what happened yesterday
Well-
when I couldn't get my TV.
I'll tell you what. Listen, I am not a
thought
conspiracy
Iran did
theorist
this to
either.
me.
I'll tell you what. I was in the public. I was out in the public when that happened, and when I drove by my bank and the ATM was out and the bank was shut down,
And they were not taking any credit
and in the
cards.
grocery store you couldn't take a credit
Yeah,
card.
right.
You couldn't. You get bill pay. The carts were pulled. That's what everybody thought
Yeah.
in the public, because
Did
this
they
happened.
really?
Oh, they absolutely
I thought
did.
I was the only one that
No,
thought.
no. That was a pretty common wisdom around here. And that just goes to show you how vulnerable we really are. They think that this is all bombs and boots on the ground. No.
It's electronic.
Yeah. And you know what? That's still awful weird timing to me. Because I was looking at a television where they're bombing Qatar, and you're right, there was nobody there, so that is a little strange that they've said now that they knew that nobody was going to be there. But yet here's Iran bombing Qatar. At the same time, we've lost all electronic contact with the world. Who knew that ran ATM machines? I guess we found out that the money can be shut down awful quick. But this happens simultaneously, and then a ceasefire is hours later. Even if nobody was at your base, why would you sign a ceasefire with a country that just bombed your base? I mean, I don't understand
Because
that.
it was scripted.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they didn't just bomb our bases. We bombed them first, and then they bombed our bases that had nobody at them, which is why they probably picked the bases that had nobody at them, because had they bombed and had casualties, I think we would have done something.
But how did it go from unconditional surrender Saturday night to ceasefire and keep your regime?
Right.
I mean,
Well, they evidently had it worked out.
well, but who's got the upper hand here? I'm not necessarily sure that we do.
You don't?
Well,
What he's evidently he's pretty much got the upper hand the way it looks to me.
Well, he doesn't have it with oil.
no, and doesn't have it.
I know he said drill, baby drill.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not sure. I mean, he came down awful hard on Netanyahu. I mean, that didn't. Apparently, people were offended over there by his language and his demeanor in that press conference. So again, if this is all some kind of master plan, it's not being carried out very well.
Well, do you think he would carry it out well?
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah,
That's the problem. And what can happen between here and there? Why, as soon as he announces a ceasefire, did missiles fly? I mean, what was the point of that?
That they wrote, it was all show. I still believe that
You
it's
think
all
it was
show.
all set up?
I
Huh?
think it was.
Really?
It was to
Very well could be.
get everyone's mind off of what happened. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Here's a new thing. Look, I'm a peace guy. I'm bringing peace. And is oil down? No.
No,
No.
it isn't.
Is food
Yeah.
down?
Food's going up, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, my
Yeah.
eggs were a dozen and a half eggs were $4.
Vegetables are going up now.
It was
We bought
$3.99.
shampoo the other day, and I go, oh my God, it's not made out of gold. This has gone up tremendously just for
shampoo. Yeah,
crap.
well, it's high. Yeah.
Though, but the American people, again, if he's doing this, let's say it's scripted, the American people have always been very disinterested in the rest of the world. That's what every president and every foreign leader has always said, that people are far more interested in the United States and other countries than we've ever been interested in them. I honestly, does the common person who doesn't follow the news care anything about Iran? Could they find it on a map? Israel? Probably not. But do they know how much eggs and shampoo and vegetables cost at the grocery store? Oh, yeah. So, I mean, he can get a Nobel Peace Prize, I guess. He can be nominated. I think he has been
They
nominated.
took it away.
Did they take the nomination away? Already. What? It comes and goes quick for people.
You know what bothers me more than anything is the way the ICE people are
Well, that too.
treating our
Why do they wear
people.
masks?
Huh?
Why do they wear masks?
Yeah, and mistreat the people so badly.
It's so
Yeah, I mean, they're
unbelievable.
knocking people down and beating up on them, and they don't have to do that.
They're arresting people
Yeah.
while wearing civilian clothes
And
also.
I tell you, that one guy they just did too, he had 3 Marine sons, and they were beating the heck out of him.
Now, I don't believe, I truly don't believe that there should be a legal way you can come into the country. Do it the right way.
Yeah,
If you jump over a fence, yeah, you're not allowed to do that. We
Right.
need to get you back.
right.
But the ones that are here, if you're somebody that shouldn't be here, go work for Trump, because they're not going to go to the farmers. Isn't that amazing that they said, well, we're going to do this, but we're not going to touch farms. We're not going to touch. I forget what the other two things were, because it will disrupt the economy. Even
Who said that?
Trump himself.
Oh, did he?
He told He told ICE people, don't go after farms. Don't go
Oh,
after
yeah,
this.
I
don't
did.
go
He
after-"
said, he said he talked to one of his friends.
Yeah.
So one of his friends had to tell him that.
Yeah.
right.
Hey, whoa, wait a second.
So wait a
This might
minute.
not be a good
But
idea.
if you do it here, how can you do it there?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just a bunch of crap.
I never understood the concept, by the way, of. I don't understand why they don't punish business owners for hiring illegal immigrants. If you're going to punish the illegal immigrants for being here, I think if
Oh, they do
it just-
that all the time, yeah.
it just doesn't make any sense.
I read something the other day about his golf course where his wife is buried. Do you know why he buried her on the golf course?
No.
Because if you have one grave, all that land is considered a cemetery. And guess what? There's no taxes.
Oh, yes.
He's a smart.
So you bury your wife there. Well, there you go.
Fair enough, I guess.
Well, I guess he can visit her as he drives by.
But have you ever seen it? It's weeded.
Oh,
they don't weed it. They don't
Lord.
cut.
Really?
Oh my God! It's such
Yeah.
a sham.
Is that the future for Melania? To end up on the golf course?
I think
Oh,
she's going to
Lord.
get the heck out and probably be somewhere else.
I think she's pretty good and well already, guys.
Well, Marla Maples is an ex-wife there,
nowhere-
too.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
hardly
She's in there
around when
somewhere.
he's there. She won't hold his hand, and
That's right. He tried to get his little finger around her hand.
Oh,
and,
we got to talk about the parade too.
yeah,
Oh, the military
yeah.
parade, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
the
Oh,
parade.
yes.
What a sham that was.
It didn't go over very well,
no,
no.
it did not go. But according to him, it was the best ever.
everything's the best ever according to him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what he says, yeah.
I got a friend of mine who's a big MAGA guy, and I go, he lies all the time. He goes, well, everybody lies. No. Would you allow your kid to lie?
No.
No. So why do you allow he's a fella. He's a rapist. He's done all this terrible stuff, and why don't you, January 6th?
Oh, yeah.
My God,
That was terrible.
He's giving these people pardons, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. I just can't
And then he
believe
says if anybody spits on the police, they're going to be arrested.
it. Yeah,
Well, Mary Ellen, when you were in office, I mean, it used to be when you did something horrible, you had to resign or you had to do something. I mean, you
Yeah.
certainly it was going to follow you.
Yep.
Now,
You
well,
he can do anything.
you can do anything. You can have felonies. You can be
you
found.
can go to war and not ask Congress.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can do anything you want to
And
do
you
now.
call the war off just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what is I don't know. The whole thing in a ball, we're 6 months into this presidency. That's really, it seems like it's been a lot longer. But it's 6 months. And the changes that this guy has made to America are pretty severe. Pretty severe.
Extremely severe.
Now,
And they're brutal. I mean, they're mean. He's
They
mean.
are mean,
He's
yes.
mean about everything he does.
Except to his billionaire buddies.
Uh-huh.
is the bill going to pass? Do you think the bill's going to pass, Mary Ellen?
What bill?
The Senate bill, the bill in the
Big,
Senate,
beautiful-
the big
Oh,
beautiful
the
bill.
big beautiful bill.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hope not.
The Democrats have to step up.
I don't know
They
why
got to start fighting.
They got to get nasty. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then after that, you got the second years coming in the election.
Yeah. Midterms.
Midterms.
Yeah, we got a
What's
chance
going to happen
there.
there?
I think we're going to do all right.
Well, if you're going to elect
I think we
what
better.
happened in New York, you can change it.
Yeah.
Well, that should
yeah.
be a point to a lot of people.
Yeah, right.
Because, New
Right.
York has had some Republican mayors. I mean, they've had Giuliani.
yeah.
They had
And
Bloomberg, who became an
yeah,
And
independent.
now they have a very left,
Whoa.
very left man.
This guy, yeah, he's
crazy.
but he'll
Yeah.
now New York. I'll tell you, you'll be able to afford the rent in New York now because they're going to price control
No,
that whole
I'm
thing.
talking about the current mayor.
Oh, the current mayor. Oh, yeah, he's
That
had.
guy is
Adams.
crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Well, there's a guy.
Yeah.
He's had his problems too.
Yes.
I don't think he's going to have a second act. I don't know. It's interesting to look at this now. Do the Democrats have a chance, Fred, in next year, midterms?
I think they do if everybody, those that have had enough, say, I've had enough, and we're going to make this change. And in the past, if you look at history, midterms have been brutal on the people that have been in because they've had 2 years to do something, and if it's not enough time, then you're out.
They throw you out. Mary Ellen, what do you think? Midterm's going to be good for the Democrats?
Oh, I think it will. You know, I'm always afraid that Trump's going to do something like give everybody $1,000 or something right before.
Gold medal mothers. He wants to give mothers that have 5 or 7 babies a gold medal and $1,000 a kid.
No kidding.
That's what Hitler did.
Yeah, Hitler.
Hitler did that very thing.
Did he?
Incentivized big
Oh.
families.
Well,
I didn't know that, but
you know, and we'll continue to follow this on the program. Heaven knows it's going to be something to follow. But in the meantime, do go to HBO Max, because the documentary really is something to see. It is really, really, really something. And boy, oh boy, everybody who put this together, and the fact that HBO has aired it, and the fact that it has become the #1 documentary in the country is really saying something. Surviving Ohio State, again, the film explores the Ohio State University abuse scandal based on the 2020 Sports Illustrated article, Why Aren't More People Talking About the Ohio State Sex Abuse Scandal? Fred Feeney is in it, former referee. Fred, thank you for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun. Fred will be on Thursday morning, live with me, 8:15 to 10 on the radio. Mary Ellen, always good to see you. For Matt Morgan, Scott Spears heading for the dugout.